Greetings, Glitter Gang. Happy Thursday. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, November 19th. And this is our last day of shows before we have a little break for Thanksgiving. And then it's December. We are continuing the Halloween expanding folio table display, the Squawktagon, today. Will we finish it? Who knows? I don't know anything anymore. So, maybe, hopefully, we'll see. Today is also book club discussion of the School of Essential Ingredients by Erica Bauermeister. I'm going to go over what the December and January books are so you can get them on hold at your library. And we will vote on the December books over the weekend. And we will discuss those books on December 17th, I believe. So the week before Christmas, and then we'll be off for Christmas. Okay, right? That's right. Let's look. Let me just look at the calendar. I don't know what days are anymore. Oh, we'll have 2 weeks off. We'll be off on the 25th and we'll be off on the 1st. So we will discuss, we'll be, well, I think on the 31st, I'll do an afternoon show and not an evening show. So we can actually, if you want more time, oh, no, never mind. Let me go back. We're discussing the books on the 17th because they're Christmas books. I just remembered. Okay, so, all right. So we're going to vote on the December books today. Starting tomorrow, and you'll vote over the weekend, and I'll post the winner on Monday. So let me tell you what the December books are first, and then I'll tell you about the October books, the January books, because I have the January books picked out. All right, so the 3 books for December are all inspired by or related to A Christmas Carol. And I'm recommending that you also read A Christmas Carol because it's short and it's the inspiration for the book, whatever the book we choose is. So I'm going to recommend you read A Christmas Carol first and then read whatever the December book is. Obviously, you don't have to. You can just do whatever you want. But I mean, I know you all know the story of A Christmas Carol by now, I'm sure. But if you've never read it, maybe go ahead. Okay, so the books are A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens plus The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. The plot of this book is that Holly Chase is the same type of ghost as Jacob Marley. So she has the same type of job in the afterlife as Jacob Marley, which is like warning people that they're wasting their lives and that they need to make radical changes. Okay, so the next book is Mr. Dickens and His Carol by Samantha Silva. That's Mr. Dickens and His Carol by Samantha Silva. And this is a historical fiction about the inspiration for A Christmas Carol. So the main character is Charles Dickens himself. And then the third book is Jacob T. Marley by R. William Bennett. That's Jacob T. Marley by R. William Bennett. And this is the events of A Christmas Carol from Jacob Marley's perspective rather than from Ebenezer Scrooge's perspective. Okay, so those are the December books. You will vote on them starting tomorrow. So I'll put up the poll tomorrow. It'll run through the weekend. And on Monday, I'll let you know what the winner of the poll is. And then to give you a heads up on the January books, I'm going to tell you what they are so you can get them on hold at your library if you experience long holds with your library and you need a head start. So they are The Snow Child by Yoan Ivey. That's The Snow Child by Yoan Ivey, which is a retelling of the Snow Child myth set in Alaska in, I believe, the 1940s. We have Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna, more famously known for writing The Nightingale, which is a start of a popular series set in World War II. This book is also partially set in World War II in the Siege of Leningrad. And, but it's also set in modern times. And I believe this book is about this woman who lived through the Siege of Leningrad, and her daughter's trying to understand her and her history and where she comes from and what the influences are on her. And then lastly, no, stop it. Sorry. Okay. Lastly, The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. Are you sensing a January theme? The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. And this book is about a town where there's like a mysterious curse, or, well, they have strange disappearances, and a legend has grown up that that's because of a curse. And so the main character finds a diary of one of the people who did disappear mysteriously and is going to try and unravel the mystery of it. The Snow Child was voted on but did not win last January, I believe. It lost to Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I just had to remember her name. It lost to Cinder by Marissa Meyer. It's back because the theme for January is winter. We're going to do, all these books have winter setting. Well, the only one that's kind of a stretch is Winter Garden, which is the Leningrad book. So, like, it's set in Russia. I don't know if the entire book takes place in the winter, but I mean, Russia, you know, it's almost always winter. So, and a huge problem that the Germans did face during the Siege of Leningrad was the winter. So I imagine it'll be cold. It'll be cold, even if it's not technically winter. It'll for sure. But the book is also called Winter Garden, so my guess is it is winter for at least a good chunk of the book. But I couldn't get confirmation that it was actually winter in that book like it was in the other two. Well, I guess I don't know about the Alaska one either. I mean, technically it could be the summer there, but you know, it's about a child made of snow. So again, winter vibes, winter vibes. So those are the January books. You won't vote on those until December, so don't worry about that right now, other than if you want to put them on hold at your library or read ahead. Okay, so those are the book announcements. Now I'm going to do personal announcements, which are that the flood in the house is still in remediation. The dryers were able to dry one half of the master bedroom, and they dried the corner of the master bedroom they were placed in. So they just moved them to the other side of the master bedroom, and they think they'll dry out that other corner. So they think that the master bedroom won't need any additional remediation other than replacing the carpet pad, because they took the carpet pad out and then tacking the carpet down again. So hopefully the master bedroom, we're at the end of the road with the flood in the master bedroom. The gym is another story. The gym is, they said, got to get completely gutted anywhere there was water. They said the gym is so wet that the concrete is wet. So like the concrete from the foundation, from the wall of the house, like Florida houses are all concrete block construction after 1991. So all of the concrete is totally moisturized and holding moisture. So even if like they dried out the carpet or whatever, everything is still wet. So they said they're going to have to rip everything out so they can get dryers on the concrete directly, dry the concrete, and then rebuild it. So they're going to pull out the drywall, they're going to pull out the carpet, the gym is going to be completely destroyed. A guy is coming on Tuesday to go over the scope of the project, you know, and kind of figure out like how much exactly needs to be done with that. So that's fun, because it's also my sister's wedding on Sunday, and my family will be here all week for the wedding, and then they're staying for Thanksgiving. So that's super cool. So I have am dealing with that, which is all like having your family with you for the holidays is stressful. Having your family with you for a wedding is stressful. Having your house torn apart because it's been flooded is stressful. What else has happened? The dishwasher broke. I had to buy a fridge. I mean, it's been a month. The computer broke. I had to buy a new camera. It's not been my favorite 2 months, okay? It's not been my favorite 2 months. I'm hoping I'm done. Like, this is enough bad luck for the final quarter of the year, I think. On the camera computer front, the camera lighting has been fixed. I don't know if you can see that my hands remain lit, whether they're at the front or the back of my desk. So we solved the dark spot problem, as well as we have the new computer, and it appears to be mostly set up, and the software appears to be mostly working. So that problem is solved as well. Probably. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. My desk is from IKEA, so I mean, it's not really wood, so I'm not going to knock on it, but what can you do? I learned how to pin quotes to the top of the chat, so I was able to pin, "If you can read this, you are not in a cornfield," to the top of the chat, meaning if you're in a chat where you don't see that, then you probably are in a cornfield, and you should just keep refreshing until you can see, "If you can read this, you're not in a cornfield." And with all that said, hello everyone, how's it going? Happy Glitter Day from Candy. Yes, happy Glitter Day to you as well. Kathryn says, so happy it's Thursday, hope everyone is well. Sandra is happy it's Glitter Day. May is here, she had to get up early. It's very early where she is in Friday, Australia. Happy Thursday from Bonnie and from Carol Joan. Judy says, happy Glitter Day to everyone. Let's see. Melanie says, wonderful, happy Glitter Day. Missed everyone last week. Priya says, hello, glittery friends. And Mary Martin wishes Mary Martin. I don't know where the Martin came. Mary. Gil Martin. Oh, I just am shortening people's last names now, I guess. So hello, glitter gang from Mary. That's cool. We're off to a great start. Martha says hello to everyone. Ella is here. And, Sandra says, but you look fab. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. I guess that's there is that was your maiden name. Well, there we go. I just somehow knew that and thought you might want a reminder, I guess. Okay, so let's see. Ella asked what happened. We had a tropical storm and the house flooded through the foundation, we think, because it came from the ground up. But there was never any standing water, so we really have no idea. So, because there was no water rushing around or anything like that, we don't know specifically. But, I mean, if you have a tropical storm and then 2 rooms of your house are flooded, it's kind of a good guess that the tropical storm had something to do with it. So, Tropical Storm Eta, I think, was the one. Eta, Theta, I don't know. One of the Greeks. So, yeah, so that was fun. I mean, it wasn't we weren't in any significant danger from flooding because we do live on a, little bit of an elevation as compared to, for Florida, we live on a little bit of an elevation. Flooding's a big deal, a big issue in Florida, just generally because the whole state is incredibly flat and a lot of it's below sea level. So, I think the highest point in the state is less than 400 feet above sea level. It's 300 and something. There are no mountains in the whole state, so, and there's very few hills. So yeah, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. Okay, so where we left off was I designed this paper so that we could keep the top right corner and the bottom right corner, and we could keep all the corners. So I manipulated this paper and created it in Photoshop, and now we're going to stick it down, and then we're going to go from there. All right, we have an we have an enlargement. So I'm thinking what I might want to do is I'm going to put tape on the whole back of the paper. So, how was the party last night? You looked fantastic. Thank you, Ella. The party it was a lot of fun. They didn't really want to do a party. So we just took them out to dinner at a really nice restaurant in Tampa. And, I told the restaurant before when I made the reservation that it was for their bachelor and bachelorette dinner. So, they, made sure to embarrass them for me, which I really appreciated. And everything was delicious. It was a wonderful night. We were there for about 2 hours. So quite a bit of time. But the table next to us was there when we got there and there when we left. So everyone was taking their time. Everyone was taking their time. Well, not next to us, across the room, because, you know, you can't have people close to each other. But the next table over. My parents are currently traveling and they're supposed to be here tomorrow at some point. They said that just depends on, like, you know, how quickly they feel like getting out of their hotel room, that sort of thing. So they'll show up when they show up. We have our appointment to get our nails done in the morning. So really, you know, we told them not to hurry. Okay, so I'm going to cut out some of this corner here. I'm going to cut out like a 1/16 of an inch over from the actual image itself. So I'm going to give it some breathing room, almost like a mat. And I'm using my glass mat. So this can go over the corner of the photo mat so that we don't lose any of the witch. My brother is flying in on Saturday. And the wedding is outside. So hopefully it won't be too hot. Her dress is ivory. So yeah, so hopefully it won't be too hot because we don't want to sweat. But the weather says it's going to be in the 80s, so I don't know if we're gonna escape the heat. I'm wearing an orange dress. So I have an orange maxi dress that I'm wearing. I'm going to wear the same jewelry that I wore out to dinner last night. But my dress is like a burnt orange, so it's, you know, fall colors. We go tomorrow morning at 10 to get our nails done. I'm just going to do kind of like fall vibes on the nails. So that's what I'm doing. Tomorrow, then my parents are coming and we're going to have to order in some food for dinner because I'm not cooking. His family lives in, yeah, they live, probably they live technically in Central Florida. It's about an hour east, an hour or so east of where we live. And that's where the wedding is, where they are. So, okay, so I'm sure this is enough that we can slide this in. So the only question is, do we want to cut out this spider? I think we do want to cut out the spider. Of course, we're not going to cover up a spider in a Halloween album. All right, so this month's book club book was The School of Essential Ingredients by Erica Bauermeister. Which was not what I was expecting, I guess. But, you know, I don't think it was bad. It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So, we'll see. My understanding is it's a series, but I don't know if it's always the same cooking school, just different students, different problems, or if it's all different cooking schools or what. But, you know, essentially what the book was a character study of the different students attending this particular cooking school. So, getting to know the students and what has led them to being in this cooking class with this cooking instructor. So what did everyone think? Now, there was some discussion of the people who had read the book last time we had class over how weird the Thanksgiving was. And yeah, I will say that I don't know how many of those things felt like Thanksgiving meals to me. So yeah, that was something that I noticed as well. Okay, so I think this is how we'll do it. So I don't want to add a lot of bulk to the mat, but I want the mat to have a black border. So, oh man, the cleaners were here and they emptied my recycling bin. I need to tell them not to do that. I'll be like, please don't empty my recycling bin. I need to draw on the trash in there sometimes. You've heard of all those things at Thanksgiving dinners? Yeah. I mean, the turkey breast, you know, obviously. The ravioli, I have not been to a Thanksgiving dinner where there was ravioli. You found her writing a little annoying. I found there's a lot about the book that I didn't love. Let's just say. Mostly it was all the people. And Lillian's, was her name Lillian? Her section was probably the worst. But who else? Well, actually hers was probably the worst. Because I thought everybody else was okay. I mean, there were some things that I just kind of rolled my eyes at, like, the architect saving the couple from getting the kitchen they wanted. Oh, thank goodness. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Thank goodness they're not gonna get the kitchen they want. But I guess because she just really knew more than they did, you know, what was the right thing to do, what they really wanted deep down, because of the cooking class she took. And I guess that would be my biggest, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too cynical for a book like this, to properly enjoy a book like this. I don't know if it's me or what, but you know, every person's problem was like perfectly solved by doing a thing in cooking class, I guess, because like Claire, the mom, Claire, like her identity was mom. Claire, like, she killed a crab and then she was a person again that wasn't just a mom. And I was like, okay, I guess. Like, what's changed? Do you know what you enjoy doing? You know, like, what's different now that you've killed a crab? Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I like Hallmark movies though, so maybe I'm not too cynical. Maybe it was the book. We can blame it on the book. I'm okay. But yeah, so essentially, aha, see what I did there? The Book of Essential Ingredients is about a woman named Lillian who is a chef. And when she was younger, she was traumatized by the fact that her dad left, and after that her mother never really spoke to her anymore. And all she did was neglect her and read, and her mother didn't cook and her mother didn't clean and she didn't do any housework, and so that was all up to Lillian. So Lillian learns how to cook from a friend's mom. She learns how to do housework from a friend's mom. What else does she learn? And then she decides that she learns that different spices can evoke different emotions, things like that. And so she decides that she's going to use cooking to save her mom from James Joyce, which, you know, admirable. But now I'm going to... Okay, so that's cool. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just, if we want to add, I think I want to try and add like a little border down here. So let's look at the strips. Okay, here they are. So yeah, so she wants to save her mom from James Joyce, I think is who she's trying to save her from, because she's trying to read the complete works of James Joyce. instead of parenting. And I think I like Oh What a Night better, but I'm going to turn it into a banner. So to make something into a banner that isn't a banner is pretty simple. I just need to put tape on this before I do it. Oh yeah, my sister and I, sometimes when we watch Christmas movies, we're like, imagine this was real, you know. And there's this one called, I think it's called A Christmas Kiss, and in it, it's like, there's this, you know, 20-year-old who lives with her roommates, and she has a very demanding boss who's like the top interior designer in Boston, and her, you know, she's her assistant or whatever. And so the plot is she won at a when she's dressed up as the Sugar Plum Fairy from the Nutcracker, is trapped in an elevator with her boss's fiance. They of course have a moment, they kiss, and then the rest of the movie is about basically like the evil boss lady's relationship getting destroyed, her life gets destroyed, like she gets hit in the face with something and has to go get plastic surgery, like all this terrible stuff happens. And my sister and I were like, are we supposed to be rooting for the cheaters? Like, is that what it is? Like, in other words, because she's trying to have a career, like, and cares about her business that she's grown from nothing, like, so now she's evil. And and so the whole time we were just making fun of that. And then there's a sequel called A Christmas Kiss 2, and the designer lady who's the villain of the first one, she guest stars in A Christmas Kiss 2, and she plays the fairy godmother role. And basically she's there to say, like, you know, some bad things can happen to you, but like good can come from bad things, because I was engaged to the wrong man and he was an ass and he cheated on me, and if he hadn't, I wouldn't have found, like, you know, my current husband who I love more than anything, whatever. And I was like, and we were like, they must have realized how the first movie didn't strike the right tone, you know, that it didn't strike the right tone. And the audience was not rooting for who they thought the audience was going to root for. So they changed her character in the sequel. It was so funny. But yeah, sometimes you just have to make fun of them because of things. So, but they can also be fun. So even though you know exactly what's going to happen always, it's not like a Christmas movie has ever surprised anyone. Well, maybe if they're 5, you know, but after that, probably not. Okay. So we're gonna, yeah, see, that's cute. Do we need to put a photo corner? Or, nah, I don't think we do. I don't think we do. I have this lined up pretty much perfectly where I want it. So, of course, now if I try to stick it down, oh well, that's all I can do is just try and stick it down. All right, so anyways, so yeah, so Lillian does succeed in, well, and right before she decides that she's going to cook her mom out of James Joyce, she says, if this works, I'll cook for the rest of my life, and if it doesn't work, I'll never cook again. So she makes a deal with the universe, I guess. And her mom does actually take a moment to quote her a couple sentences from the Joyce book she's reading. And so I guess that was success. And so then she becomes a chef and opens a cooking school. So that's the setup. So that's the first thing that happened. And that's the setup. So then you have the rest of the book, which is following a particular class of her cooking school and the students in it. I'm going to add a little black ink to this. It already has the crisp black edge, but I'm going to give it a spookier, smokier edge. And so each of the students, you know, is going through something. One of the things I was thinking while reading it was, I was like, is it that people are only drawn to cooking classes when they're having problems, or is there something about this cooking class? You know, that was one of the things I was questioning. Like, is this the cooking class that you go to when you're having a midlife crisis? Okay. So I'm going to hold the two pieces together and peel the tape and press it down. Does that look crooked now? Are you going to just come off nicely? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to just retape this and stick it down, hopefully not crooked this time. Okay. So, did anyone have a favorite character or the character that struck them the most or stuck with them the most? Because that is really what it's about. It's about the characters. There's not a lot of plot. So it's just, you know, basically the formula was introduce a character, introduce a dish, introduce their problem, somehow the dish solves their problem. Or some interaction that they have will solve her problem. The waitress, Chloe, was the waitress. Okay, that looks straighter. And Isabel, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is on the back, I'm going to lightly cut through the tape. Yeah, Isabel was the one with dementia of some kind. All right, so I cut through the tape so that I can peel this section without peeling, that covers the piece without peeling the whole back. So I'm not ready for the whole back to be sticky. And then I can just kind of go over this area, and now this corner is stuck down. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here to this corner. And so all you have to do is you're just going to cut from your cut, you know, to your cut. So And I just got to pull it out from underneath. Unfortunately, several different pieces of tape kind of converged on this corner. So, and now it's stuck to my desk. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so that's stuck down. So now we just need to slide in our little piece here. And have it partially overlap the photo. Stop sticking to my desk, please. And it needs to go under, whoops, it needs to go under this bubble. So I'm just gonna pull this bubble up a little bit to give myself some room to get in. There we go. Okay. And now the whole thing can get stuck down to the book. So let me give myself some room here so I can lay the book out. Drink your water. All right. So this goes on one of the expanded pages. So, oops, that's not how we open the book. Yeah, I thought, so Gretchen said, I thought there was so many characters, but the book was rather short. It didn't delve deep enough into any of the characters. Yeah, my feeling was we could have had fewer characters, or we could have had the same number of characters, but not everyone's backstory did we need to know. So, like, the book could have been about Claire finding herself as a young mother, maybe. And, you know, then Helen and Carl could have been involved in that somehow as tertiary characters. You know what I mean? So, like, we didn't have to have their whole backstory. You know, I think maybe that's kind of, yeah. All right, so that's where that's going to go. Which I'm going to just ink the edges before I stick it down, and then we're going to decorate this page. Or like, it could have just been about the women, for example. So we could have just delved deep into the women, and the men could have just been there as supporting characters, or whatever, you know, whatever. But yeah, we didn't need everybody's backstory. Like, there were some that I don't think added anything. Like the software engineer with the artist mother. Like, I don't know what that added. You know, I don't know what, other than to say that he complimented Annette, whatever her name was, Antonia. I don't know. I have to look up their names. But yeah, there was just like a lot of detail about people that I don't know that we needed. And so instead of plot fatigue, you know, I just read a book with plot fatigue. instead of plot fatigue, there was kind of like a character fatigue where there was just too many threads. So like when you talk in a book about plot fatigue, usually what that means when someone says that is that the author's has too many plots. There's too much plot and the book is too complicated. So what happens when someone's saying this book has plot fatigue is usually they're saying that there's, because of how many plots there are, it's too many for the author to handle appropriately. So the author is not giving each plot either the time it needs or the depth it needs, or the plot adds nothing. It's superfluous. Like it's just, you know, a thing that the people did on their day off or whatever. It doesn't add to the overarching narrative in any way. So that's what that means. And so that there was a feeling of that with how many characters there were, I thought, because there were so many characters and they all got, I mean, essentially the same amount of attention as far as I can tell. So let's look at who they were. Because I have the page. Okay, so there was Lillian. She's the chef. She owns the place. Claire, was the young mother struggling with identity. Carl was the husband of the more mature husband and wife team of Carl and Helen. Antonia was the Italian woman who moved here because she was too comfortable living in her hometown. Tom, his wife died. Chloe was the klutzy waitress. Isabel was the woman with dementia. Helen was the other half of the husband and wife team. And then Ian was the software engineer. So, like, if we were going to closely follow people, Lillian could have had a mysterious backstory. We just, I don't think we needed to know why Lillian has a magical cooking school or whatever, you know, like she could have just been a mysterious, like in Chocolat. If you read that or watched it, you know, it's not super clear or obvious or anything like about necessarily why they have this chocolate shop, you know, and it doesn't matter, you know, but basically this felt like that's what she wanted. Like that's the vibe the author was going for, but she didn't hit it exactly right. So Lillian, I didn't need. Claire, you know, I don't even feel like her problem was solved. Like, I don't know if I wasn't paying enough attention, but it really just felt like Claire didn't know who she was because she's a mom, and then she killed a crab, and that made her feel like she could do anything, and so maybe she will now. I don't know. Or maybe she's just happy being a mom. I don't know. I don't know. Carl and Helen, you know, that was like, they got married when they were young. You know, he felt it was love at first sight for him. For her, it wasn't. They had kids together. She cheated on him. But then she realized that she loved him. Like that it was more important to her to not hurt him than it was for her to have the exact life she wanted or something. And so then she fixed whatever was in herself that inspired her to cheat, and then they lived happily ever after. Antonia, she's the architect who helps people not get the kitchens they want. Tom's wife died, and she was a chef. Chloe is a klutzy waitress who gets fired all the time, who Lillian hires to teach her how to cook and be her kitchen assistant. Isabel has dementia. And then Ian is a software engineer who exists so that Antonia can have a boyfriend, I think. Like I'm pretty sure that's his point for existing. Okay.